Buddy. Hey everybody. My name is Anthony Anselmo, a creative person from Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio area. And what I'm going to do today for all of those who are interested is run through the first level of this game I've created, which I'm tentatively calling TransformersGS. Now, I've made a couple games already in Construct 3. Those games are basically along the lines of games that I always wanted to make when I was a little kid back in the 80s, but either didn't have the ability or the technical capability back in, say, 1984 or whatnot. This is, these games are games that I always wanted to create when I was a kid. I've already made a game called Walking Stick, which was based upon an Apple IIe game I made as a little kid, and Mega Max, which is the idea of what if Mega Man started on a Commodore 64. Now, they're not really running on emulators, but it's in the vein and style of those games from that era. So I've tried to match the colors and the capabilities, with the exception that some of this stuff is obviously running in an HTML format. You're going to see stuff that is probably not capable on those machines, but it's in the vein and style of those machines. So what I always wanted when I was a kid was a Transformers game that was similar to what you saw with either the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game or the Bad Dudes game, which Bad Dudes was my favorite. I played that pretty much every day when I went with my dad on his routes. And he stopped off in the Italian pizza shop. They had Bad Dudes, and I would play that and wouldn't get very far because I never really understood game development and how the games were basically made to follow a pattern. That all being said, jump to 2024, 2025. I now have the ability with Construct 3 to make some of these games. I've done graphical arts and music for pretty much my entire career, and now we can actually make the games that I always wanted as a kid. And because I always wanted a Transformers like side scroller, and I'm very aware of the previously done bad versions of Transformers games like the Commodore 64 game, as well as the I believe the Search for Convoy and the Nintendo stuff that we thought was going to be good and turned out to be crap. I always wanted to give the fans what I wanted as a kid, which was a side-scrolling adventure game featuring the Transformers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through this game here that I've created and just run through the first level. Now, all right, third time's the charm. So I have tried a couple times now to record this video, and the sound is not where it needs to be in a couple places, but I think I finally... First time there was no sound from the game. Second time my voice was too soft, so hopefully third time's a charm here. So, once again, this is a idea of a Transformers video game that we always wanted as kids. Music subject to change, by the way. So you have your instructions here, which you can either play with the keyboard or the controller. You could choose to have debug on and off, adjust the volume, or change the music. So we're going to start the game here. I've tried to make this as if this was, once again, a badly ported over version of an arcade game, such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Bad Dudes, but Transformers, the arcade game, ported over to an Apple IIgs. For example, Bad Dudes had several different ports ranging into somewhat decent to absolutely horrible. The Apple IIe one, which is the one I got, was just absolutely terrible. RoboCop was good. For some reason, Data East could do RoboCop good, but the Apple II version of Bad Dudes was just very disappointing. And the levels are divided up into fighting levels and driving levels. The idea behind that is that if you try to put the transforming mechanism in a fighting level, it just doesn't work. All right, so we're going to start with Optimus. Once again, you can play with keyboard, ASWD, or you can plug in a controller and play that as well. Okay, a couple things. You can go left or right. You can duck. You can point up. You can jump. Main weapon is shooting. You can shoot down or diagonally up. You can also punch. And then each of the characters has their own special weapon. Of course, when you use your special weapon, you lose a little bit of health, so you want to use that sparingly. You can also jump and fire. And basically, the idea of the game... that's Laserbeak. Laserbeak is more just avoid. You can shoot him, but it's more of a just try to avoid him when you hear him coming type character. And there's Ravage. Ravage, you can shoot, or you can also kick and punch down, which is more of a kick for Optimus, and that will take care of him. And here's Reflector. Each character is a little bit different. There's several different ways to tackle them. And there's various terrain. There's a little bit of terrain that you want to get through. And Optimus is too big to get those. Now there are some debug commands if you switch to hitting the backslash. Debug mode turns on. You can press H to get some health. K will kill your character. Control K will kill the boss. And then you can also switch between the different characters if you wanted to. Either with the controllers L1 or R1 buttons, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the keyboard. We're going to stick with Optimus. I'm going to turn debug off for now. Control 1 will get you to the halfway point, where you pick up the golden disc. And Control 2 will get you to the boss fighting point. First level is going to be pretty simplistic. You're pretty much just trying to get acquainted with the game. Getting acquainted with the different controls. There are some recolors. I can't remember the Laserbeak's names, but I try to stick mainly to just, like I think this one's built, to just G1 Season 1 characters right now. As time goes on, I might add some additional characters, but we'll see if people like the game. When you do get hit, you do get stunned for a second. My one buddy complained about that, but I do want some challenge to the game. And it is sort of created with the bad mechanics of an AppleIIgs game. You have to stand up to turn around, stuff like that. I do want a little bit of challenge to the game to give you the idea that you are actually somewhat playing a game from 1986. Although I think the AppleIIgs came out, I think the GS came out 88 maybe. But you get the idea. It's the game we always wanted as kids. And here's going to be our first boss, which is Shockwave. Now, with any of these guys, there's different patterns. There's some stuff you can avoid by jumping or ducking. There's some stuff you can't avoid. So basically, if you learn the pattern, and you get a good roll of the dice, like, for example, that one you can't avoid, unfortunately. Unless you use a specific character that jumps really high. different characters have different levels of abilities to jump, speed, and firepower. Then, of course, there's this transformation. And yes, Megatron is a cannon. He is a large cannon gun, which is inspired by a graphic that I saw on DeviantArt, which I thought was a good compromise of what he would probably be on Cybertron. I almost got him here. Did I get him? There we go. Got him. And that's the first level. Now the second level is driving. And with driving, you pretty much just want to avoid the bombs. And it's basically a matter of speeding up or slowing down. Hitting the brakes, you want to hit A on your keyboard or A on your controller, is what you're going to use to hit the brakes and basically avoid getting hit. And once again, I broke this up to try and give it a little bit of difference between levels, but also, once again, the transforming mechanism does really not work on the fighting levels. And those are actual images, once again, from the cartoon run through Dithertron to what an AppleIIgs could display. Excellent as are we. I can't do a Megatron voice. I could do an Ironheart voice, but not a Megatron voice. Only Frank Welker to do that. The great Frank Welker. Alright. And there's attention to detail. It's actually all, if you do drive on whoever you pick for this level is in their Cybertron modes. Ooh, I'm not doing well. Ugh. And basically you just want to slow down and avoid getting hit. But you can't slow down too much because then Laserbeak comes in and shoots you. And yes, that is light posts that Soundwave turned into back on Cybertron. Which of course didn't make any sense when you think about it, because why would Soundwave be a light post if he was named Soundwave? But once again, early J1, they were still finding their way. I don't think anybody saw the invention of CD discs when they were starting to make the cartoon. There's a little progress bar at the top that tells you how far you get, or you have to go. I'm almost there. I will say different characters are less likely to get hit than others based upon their size. Take that for what you will. Oh, I'm doing well. Almost there though. Almost there. There we go. Oh. Unfortunately, they do bounce back at you sometimes. And there we go. So that's the first two levels. This will be available on Monday. Go ahead, download it. Feel free to send any constructive criticism. Be nice, please. It is still very much in beta, and there is room for growth. And I hope everyone who downloads this enjoys it, and I hope this gives you the game we always wanted as a kid. So that's it for now. I'll be signing out. We'll let this play out, and enjoy, everybody.